We'd like to welcome everyone to press availability. We have these opportunities after events here at the Senate, and obviously we just had a leadership election. So I'm going to take a minute and just introduce the new leadership team. I'm Senator Stewart Adams. I'm the new Senate President Pro Tem. Well, not Pro Tem, or the President-to-be. And next to me is Evan Vickers, who was just elected as the Majority Leader, and Dan Hemmert as the Whip, and Senator Ann Milner as the Assistant Whip. So a new leadership team, a new elected leadership team, and we're excited to serve. And we're going to open this up maybe for, unless you want to hear some speeches, we'll open it up for some questions. And I see a couple of people from the press, at least one. So Brian, you have questions? And by the way, walking in is Senator Jerry Stevenson, who has been serving as our Appropriations Chair and will continue to serve.
Yeah.
So have you made your decisions for one of the chairs of all the committees yet?
No, we actually passed out a list tonight so people can actually set their priorities. We've asked each of the senators to submit their first 3 priorities. And we'll take those, evaluate them, and within the next week or two, we'll probably be making those assignments. So we haven't done that yet.
Explain to me what your priorities are going to be for this next session as a leadership team. What are some of the big issues that you're going to have to tackle that are going to pop up here?
I'm going to let other members to speak on this also, but I think some that are very obvious is we've just had 5 new referendums pass, and so, or other than 4 or 5. 4, yes. 3. Yes, 3 referendums that have passed. So some constitutional amendments. So as we look at those, I think we'll be dealing with those through the session. Probably one of the biggest issues that we always deal with is education. So education will probably take a majority of our time, or at least our focus during the session, both funding and then beyond that, infrastructure growth is always something that we need to deal with. I think in July, Utah's job growth rate was 3.7%. It's probably the fastest in the nation. And welcome to the rest of the press. So if you come on in and we'll bring you up to speed. But the question was, what are some of the priorities for this next session? Education and infrastructure are probably the 2 big ones. So when you're set up there, I'll keep going. So infrastructure, education, but then you have water, sewer, roads, those type of things that will be important for us to be able to take care of as we see the population double in the next few years. So I'll open it up to other members of the leadership team if they have comments.
Well, just to continue on with that discussion, when we talk about infrastructure, human capital is one of the biggest issues we have as far as infrastructure. So we need to make sure that we have a secure education program. We continue to put money into that and continue to expand and get better with what we have. It's real critical that we work on higher ed, especially coordinating our tech colleges and our UC institutions, trying to work on some of the initiatives that Senator Milner has been working on recently to talk about stackable credentials, but also we can have the available workforce to meet those opportunities that we need and those demands that we need in the economy, just keep driving the economy. So.
Go ahead.
And I would just add to what Senator Adams and Senator Vickers just said, but more, as much as anything else, it's the ballot initiatives and the constitutional amendments. I mean, they're big changes, significant policy changes, and we'll need to work with that and deal with that, and make sure that they're both implemented and in some cases tweaked. There's been talks about a compromise on medical marijuana already in a potential special session, and I'm sure we'll be dealing with the other ballot initiatives as well.
Senator Milner.
Yeah, and I think that we can't forget about the growth that we're experiencing in this state, and it impacts everything else that we've been talking about. When we talk about education, when we talk about making sure we have jobs for the future, when we make sure that we've prepared the workforce that we need to prepare, when we think about the infrastructure components related to transportation and water and air quality, all of those are going to be issues that we're going to, I think, as a group, have to start to think about where we are now and where we go for the future. In addition to that, I think if you look at the polls that are out there during this election cycle, an important issue for people not only has been education, but has also been healthcare. And how do we as a state make sure that we are providing the healthcare that's affordable to the citizens of this state? Because I think that's a real concern. Every constituency group that I talk with, and I think Utah can embrace that and can really tackle that issue.
Senator Stevenson, I expect to hear we don't have any money.
Well, that may be part of the problem this year is we may have a little money, but I think when you take all the things that have been said and put them together, the most important thing we do as a legislature is we walk out of here in March with a balanced budget. And I think that's right at the very top of the list. So we need to take all of the things that have been discussed, we'll put them into the pot, and as we bring them out, we'll walk out with a budget balanced at the end of the session.
Okay. Thank you. More questions? It's great to see a larger group here. This feels more like the session now, so we feel more comfortable with a few more of you. Any?
I just missed your priorities basically, as I understand correctly, so I get it right. Infrastructure, education, transportation, air quality, growth, kind of all of those.
Yes, yeah, I would reprioritize those. Education's got to be number one in whatever we do. It's the biggest part of our budget. That education and healthcare. But as you look at the growth we're having, we're seeing a strong economy, but most of our growth we're having is from the internal growth that we have as a state. We have to deal with that.
What are you going to do now that question 1 has failed?
I think we did made a really great effort last year as we looked at trying to fund education. That's not going to stop. We've allowed for the property tax and equalization to move forward. We've committed additional funds. We've spent a lot of time trying to fund education. And my guess is, unless someone on our team feels differently, I think that's going to be again our number one priority. We'll keep it up.
Yeah, I think we lose sight of the fact that we put close to $1 billion of new money into education in the last few years, and we'll continue. As we have surpluses, we'll continue to try to put money into education. We have to. That's that human capital component.
And we think technology is our friend, and nothing substitutes for a teacher. The relationships, if I think all of us here would look at the relationships we've had with our teachers. The things they've done for us and how they've changed our lives and the relationships we've had. You can't. That's got to be number one priority still. But we're seeing changes in technology that are giving us the opportunity to be smarter and better at the way we educate. And as I look at my grandkids, most of them, they look at a piece of glass and try to, if it doesn't move when they swipe on it, they wonder if something's wrong with the glass they're touching. And I think that's a natural to be able to use technology to help as we look at some of the challenges we're having in education.
One thing that I heard throughout the election, and Senator Milner alluded to the fact when she talked about health care, one of the things I heard loud and clear through my election process was that the people were facing diverse challenges personally in the state. And not for everyone that dream of owning a home and getting a college education isn't attainable, and sometimes it's because of intergenerational poverty situations. Sometimes it's because of actual health issues and challenges, emotional issues, and those kind of things. We have to be cognizant of that. I think we can't lose sight of the fact that there's other challenges out there other than just driving the economy and making sure everyone's getting an education. There are some other challenges that we have to be cognizant of and do what we can to help those individuals as well.
Well, if I could, even though it failed, question 1 does highlight a situation where transportation infrastructure is not funded by the revenue source that is supposed to fund it. And that's something we're going to have to keep working on, especially, Senator Adams, President-elect Adams has mentioned infrastructure. And question 1 does highlight that there is a situation with our infrastructure funding mechanism that we need to continue to look at and work on. And we have to be able to move people. The economy's grown well, and it's done so well that we've run into other bottlenecks within our infrastructure and education platforms, and they all need to be constantly worked on. And we'll need to find a solution for long-term infrastructure planning.
Other questions?
Can I just get a reaction to Amendment C passing? I know some of you had supported that during the session earlier this year.
Well, Amendment C, I think was fairly, it was well crafted, very narrowly crafted. It gives us the opportunity to bring ourselves back into special session. I think the public obviously feels like there's a need for that. I don't think it'll be used that often, quite honestly. One of the best things we have, I believe, is a citizen legislature, and we don't need to be in session more than those 45 days unless there are special circumstances. So I don't see it being used very often, but it's there, and I think it's another tool to allow us to take care of the needs of our citizens if we need it.
And I was the floor sponsor of that bill in the Senate. I hope it's not used very often. But as Senator Adams said, it's a tool.
So, good question. Other questions?
There has been a lot of wrangling about Medicaid expansion in past sessions, and now that the public has voted on it, is there going to be more discussion about the details in that?
Well, a lot of times I think I have great ideas, and I think all my ideas are great. But the problem is when I come up with a really great idea, I put it in a bill form, and all of a sudden I have 103 other colleagues start looking at it. And as we go through that, what I call a sifting or a refining process of the legislative process, my good ideas become a whole lot better. The problem with the referendum is you get a good idea and you don't have that ability to sift or refine it. You saw that with the medical marijuana initiative. It had a lot of good ideas in it, but a lot of them, it was flawed in a lot of ways. And so we as a legislature, we need to take those ideas and we need to be able to tweak and make sure they function right. I can't tell you what we'll do as a legislature with that, but I think Medicaid anyway is a big part of our budget, almost as much as health, as education, and it's soon to probably, maybe with the expansion of Medicaid, it may become a bigger part of our budget than education. So with that, we're gonna have bills, we're gonna have issues, we're gonna have ways to do it. And I'm actually excited. We have some of the best healthcare providers in the world here in Utah. And look around, we have the best healthcare. We know how to do it. We know how to keep the costs low. I think we're going to hear from them. We're going to look to those providers to say, how can we do this in the most cost-effective, affordable way? And I hope they engage. And as we go through that refining process of not only the referendum, as we go through the legislative process, I think we're going to find a way to make it work. So I'm actually excited about our future as far as healthcare. And Senator Milner, I know you've done a lot with that.
Yeah, and I think it also drives us to think about some of the bigger issues. What people want is quality health care that's accessible to them, that's affordable. And it's not just with it's not just with people that would qualify for Medicaid. It is what all of our citizens want. I hear that consistently as I talk with citizens around the state. You know, they're even working, they have jobs, but they look at how big a bigger piece of the pie that's taking out of their budget. And I think that forces us as a legislature to not only think about just how Medicaid fits in that picture, but what can we do as a state that would allow us to kind of move towards a stronger system of quality health care, more affordable and accessible for everybody in the state. And that's what people want. And I just believe Utah is a can-do state where people can come together. We're small enough that we can craft solutions to complex issues. And we have a body of people both in the Senate and in the House that can make that happen, and that's what we need to focus on.
The other thing I think we can't forget about as we talk about Medicaid expansion or health care is the mental side of it. As you're here and you're coming to work and you get to spend time with us, I guess, tonight, hopefully you feel like you're productive and it kind of helps your self-esteem. But when you're at home and you have everything provided for you and you don't have either the incentive or the opportunity to go out and work or associate with others, that can be very, very difficult for your mental stability and your self-esteem. And I don't think we can't downplay that. We need to make sure that we're giving people the proper incentives, that as we help them up and out, we just don't help them further down. And so I think we'll have a lot of discussion on that. Okay? Any further questions? If not, it's great to have you here. We look forward to you coming during the session. This does feel like we're back at it. And again, every day of the session we'll have press availability. One thing I think we're committed to in the Senate, I think the legislature as a whole, is transparency and collaboration. And the way that our citizens know about what we're doing up here is what you're doing. So thank you for being here. Appreciate your input. Appreciate you covering us. And have a good night. And we'll again talk to you later. Thank you very much.